floating down on the Colorado River on my kayak. I have just passed the Horseshoe Bend. This is a place I have seen 2 or 3 times now from above, and I was always so jealous when I saw these boats on the river down below, and I never knew you could even get here. There are campsites and bathrooms along the way, and you could have a boat bring you up here for $75 or $80. It takes about 20-25 minutes, and then you can just float down. You could take 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. You can camp at one of the campsites overnight if you bring your tent, and then you continue. You could get out and hike around. There are some beautiful places around the area. These are wild horses living on the other side of the river. This is actually pretty close to the boat launch, so if you're just going for a hike, you can probably see them because they're that close. But this was pretty neat for my kayak. I was able to go close to them without actually bothering them. I'm sure they're used to humans. They're used to not being bothered by them, so they were just doing their thing, and a bunch of us were just sitting there looking at them. It was really, really nice. I will leave a lot of information in the description of this video, and you could check out the company I used. They were great, and just a few more things, tips and advice that you should know, but you definitely have to do this. If you don't have a kayak, you could rent one from them for $25. Totally worth it. And if you are in the area, you have to do this at least one time. I think I'm going to come back again and again because this is amazing. I was taken up by a boat for $75, like I said, and it only took 25 minutes from Lee's Ferry boat launch to pass the Horseshoe Bend. And this is where we actually got out. You could ask them to drop you off wherever you want, but this is where we went. It was me and the family, and we're getting out. And at this point, the captain told us that there is this amazing archaeological site where there are 5,000-6,000 year old carvings in the rock face, and it's just a short little hike. You can walk up, you could leave your kayak and everything. No one's gonna take anything. So you just walk up and you will see this amazing area. There are some bathrooms there, and there aren't many people, so it's not like a crowded tourist site. And you can take a look at these amazing carvings. You can actually see some of these sheep carved into the rock. And to me, it was just so unbelievable that someone did this. Some people did this 5,000-6,000 years ago. They lived here, and I'm able to be just 2 feet away from it. You see these kind of things in museums and everything, but I have never been near something like this in its original environment. So this was unbelievable to me. It was also this really strange, calm vibe I was getting just standing there in front of this huge rock face. I mean, it's just so amazingly tall, and everybody was gone by then. I just took a little time, and I just stood there and looked up and looked around, and it was just so calming. it's hard to explain, but it was definitely a one of a kind experience. So this is right underneath where people go and see the Horseshoe Bend on the other side. All those tourists, you could actually look up and see some people, and they don't even know that this thing exists. So if you can, you definitely have to do this, not just for the floating on the river, but also to see this amazing sight. After this, I got on my kayak and started floating down. But this area right here is actually really good for fishing. I was told the best areas are where the bottom of the river is sandy and not so much rocky. That's where the fish are, supposedly. And you can also look down and see all those huge fish swimming around. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing, but I didn't want to stay right here because there were some other people, and this is where people are, getting off of the boat and everything. So I just started going back, and the interesting thing is that the river is super calm. So it's not like a river you would imagine. It's almost like a lake, but there is a steady and slow current. So you can just sit on your kayak and do absolutely nothing. You can just sit back and it will just slowly take you down. You can use your paddles to kind of, stay out of the way or whatever. Or you can speed up the process so you actually get back faster. But if you do nothing, you are going to get back to your destination. You just want to make sure you're towards the edges of the river, towards the side, because when boats are coming, you don't want to be in their way, but you don't want to be completely on the side, because when the boats come, they make these bigger waves, and those waves can just kind of throw you out to the side, and you don't want to be hit up against those rocks. So you want to be a little bit on the sideways, either left or right. I guess it doesn't really matter. And you can just sit back and enjoy the entire experience without doing nothing. I did some fishing and it was really interesting. I actually sort of got stuck in one spot, and what I mean by that is that I just couldn't leave. It was this area where the river was on the bottom. It was all sandy and it wasn't very deep, and I could see all these fish and I could just stare down at them. And every time I put my bait in the water, I could see them coming They would see the bait and they would just circle around it like sharks, and they would look at it and they wouldn't bite. They were so smart. You can only use artificial lures and baits, and you actually cannot even use artificial salmon eggs or artificial marshmallows. So they have all these strict requirements. And what I was using, I guess it looked pretty good at first, but then they just wouldn't bite. Out of my entire trip, I had 2 bites, but they were not that big. They let go. And then at one point here, when I was sitting, I had one fish. I thought I had it. I was reeling him out, and it was big. I could tell, I could see it, and I could feel it. And in the last second before I got him out of the water, he let go. So I couldn't believe it, but I was there for an hour. Time went by so quickly. It was so interesting. I didn't even have to cast my bait. I just let it go down underneath of me, and those fish came. It was really cool. It was kind of sad that I couldn't catch any fish, and I know other people have better luck, but those fish outsmarted me. But it was still an amazing experience. It was worth it. My plan is to come back in a couple of months and camp at one of those campsites along the river, maybe spend 2 or 3 nights there, just me and my dog Misha. I would love to come back with a boat, but I don't have one, and I don't know if I want to get one right now. So I think what I could do is have that same company bring me up with their boat, drop me off with the camping gear, and I would be better prepared for fishing. So hopefully I could catch some fish and have that for dinner or something, and just have a nice relaxing time and go hiking in the area. And then on the way back, after like 2 or 3 days, they could pick me up and I could go back to my campsite. So that's my plan. I'm really planning on doing it, so stay tuned for that video in a couple of months. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.